So how did you guys end up meeting, by the way?
Through your wife.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, she did PR, and she used to hire me to do headshots and I want to say interior photos, but photography for her company or her clients.
And then how long ago was that?
3 to 5 years.
Yeah, right about in there.
I'm sorry?
3 to 5 years.
Oh,
I think it's closer to like 5 years.
That came out
closer to
as
like 5 years.
35 years? I was like, jeez, you met his wife when you were 2? Like,
Forever.
So how did you go from, because in my very small viewpoint of how this has kind of evolved, like hippies are not super big into supporting the military. And then you go off son of a hippie and you join the Marines at a young age.
Yeah, it's, I guess, opposites also. So there was a lot of drugs and stuff involved. And for me, my way out was the military. You know, I'd been in ROTC in high school and things like that. So I say the pendulum swings, you know, maybe one generation super free and like whatever, man. And then, you know, I went all the way to discipline and, you know, just to do things differently.
So what was your job in the Marines?
I first went in as an aircraft mechanic. I ended up on helicopters. As soon as I got to my unit, though, I volunteered to be a door gunner. Went through the path to do a door gunner, and then I was they call weapons and tactics instructor, mostly from aerial platforms. So long rifles, machine guns, what you would call it, 50 calibers, all types of weapons platform from elevated, from air.
What's the biggest difference when you're shooting from air versus when you're on the ground with a gun?
It's like driving a pickup truck or an F1 car.
Really?
Well, they're just different. I mean, you know, there's preciseness to it, but once you get in the air, you got a moving platform, you got air that's above you that's acting funky, and so it takes a lot more. So
did you always know that he did like self-defense and, correct me if I'm wrong, self-defense and gun courses?
Yeah, that's what makes him fucking cool.
So tell me about
he
that.
blows shit up.
So you were in the military, and then was this like a natural, just kind of like a follow over when you got out, or was this something that you just saw the world going to hell in a handbasket pretty quickly here?
No, I went the other way. I went completely the other way. I went Buddhist for a while. I actually went to school when I got out for music engineering. Grew my hair long. I went hippie for myself for a couple of years. And then I went in business. I was like, all right, this ain't paying the bills. And I started a business, my prior business, doing ceramic coatings on cars. I always loved cars. Always been around cars. Well, I did a lot of things. Bartended a while. Like to get out of bartending, I started a detail company. I was doing cars. You know, it was good. And then it started just really kind of as friends going, hey, I want to shoot on the weekend. I'd be like, all right, I know how to do it. There were people in Miami when I was bartending, doing cars, knew me for 6, 7, 8 years. Never knew I was even in the Marine Corps. I went far the other way.
How long were you in the Marine Corps for?
5 years.
5 years?
5 years active, yeah.
Did you go to 8th and I at all?
To visit.
Did you visit?
Yeah,
to
visit.
I did some stuff with the McMap program up in Quantico a couple
That's
times.
awesome. Yeah. Some of my, a few have gone through there.
Yeah, that's where the FBI trades out of too. Is Quantico, that big
Quantico.
combo? Their Marine Corps martial art program is. Chris is just nodding and okay. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know none of this.
He's like gold chains. I love it. You're like an anime of yourself today. It's fantastic. It's just like,
you're welcome.
You're your own meme. We're gonna make you your own NFT. Just here, click right there. So you're gonna be doing one of the courses. Which one are you gonna be doing, and why did you decide that was the way to go?
So we started doing this podcast, and I was like, yo, it's a show about all this man stuff. And I was like, I'd like to be more proficient in
being a man,
and being able to handle the weapon that I carry better. And apparently you can go from 0 to hero. I'm a 0. I'd like to be a hero. I'm probably like a 3-5.
Kyle Rittenhouse just got acclaimed hero, I think, but we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
And
when most people say they're 3 to 5, they're 1.5 to 1 3/4. Like going into a gym,
like a 1.
Jiu-jitsu, it's like I've done it. I'm like a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I know where the bullet goes.
Yeah, so you know, I want to do cool shit, and I was like, if we can get you to do some cool shit too, and they do cool shit, we should all do it as like, you know, maybe drive up in the limo.
That's a good mantra. Just start a religion.
I should start a religion.
In the name of the cool shit, the holy shit, and the really awesome shit. Praise be to space people.
And you. So yeah, cool shit. And yeah, I want you guys to do it.
So what's the course specifically? Because there's several courses you do, like an entry level.
Beginners. I'll be in the beginners course.
I'm just gonna do the one where they go, the trigger's here and pointed away from you. This is the bad side. You want to keep that not at you.
Most people don't know that.
Most people, yeah, no shit, man. It's crazy. So how did you start doing the course? You said it started with some friends, and then at what point were you like, there was really a need for this?
Yeah, so I started doing with friends and stuff like that. And then Parkland, my kids live in Coral Springs. They go to high schools close by Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. It's the like neighboring high school. So football games, house parties, like friends, it was all intermingled. That was quite close to the house for me. And I started this to go out and teach students and teachers at first. Because what they teach our students is absolutely horrible. You know, I got inspired to go teach. And then I had some interest. People were like, I even got yeses all the way at the school level. Then I get a call and say, hey, we can't do your course. And it wasn't approved by insurance companies.
Well, you say course like for kids. What do you
for
mean by
kids and teachers? Yeah, I mean, an active shooter scenario. What do you do?
Okay. Because I thought for something like a microsecond, I just wanted to make sure, like giving little Billy, like, here's how you hold a Glock.
Yeah,
no. So safety instructions.
You know, how to increase survivability in an active shooter scenario. We teach it to diplomats. We teach it to ambassadors. We teach it to a lot of people within our government, but we don't teach our kids the same thing.
So how did you develop the curriculum for that?
So when I got rejected by insurance companies, basically, I said, screw it. I'm just going to teach everybody. And then parents will go home and teach their kids better, you know? So that's how, and that's, to improve parents and humanity so the world's a better place. And how I did the active shooter, in addition to my Marine Corps training, I've trained a lot on my own, diplomatic security, other things. So it's what we teach. It's kind of the norm curriculum, if you will, at a high level of active shooter response. We just don't teach it to kids.
You know, in the Cliff Note versions of it, what are some of the things that you think that kids need to like what are some of the biggest issues you took with the way that we're teaching kids now? Here's how you survive these horrific fucking events versus what you saw as needing
one
to
is
happen.
Go to a far corner. They teach you go to a far corner, just kind of ball up. That's the worst, because as soon as they open a door, it's been shown, if you look at active shooter scenarios and things of that nature, like they open a door, that's the worst corner to be in.
Caddy corner from the door.
Straight across. Right.
Right.
It's like, you know what I mean? We got to aim. They see you. Boom, boom, boom. Right? It's the worst corner, and that's what they're teaching. 2, the hands up, walk around. So maybe a cop won't shoot you or something like that. Well, at a certain point, that may work, but not in the hallways. Not like it makes yourself a huge target and just walk out slowly. It's like, no, you can evade and get out. You know what I mean? You don't got to line up in a line and be perfect row of ducks.
Yeah.
So those few things really stuck out at me.
Teaching them to be sheeple at a young age.
Yeah.
It's crazy too. That Nicholas Cruz just my wife's a public defender, and she was in the courtroom with Nicholas Cruz on a couple occasions, and she's like, it's very surreal to be, because that was a nationwide prolific case, right?
Sure,
I mean, obviously. And she's like, it's very surreal to be like a foot from this energy of just craziness, you know, and this like it's just such a sad situation. Generally, and it seems like something where I don't know if it's because of social media, and there's the direct impact of like, hey, we can just communicate things faster now, so like that thing that happened there we know about instantly, but it feels like there's more and more gun violence over the last 20 years than there has been in the 20 years prior that I was aware of it, or even the last 5 or 6 years. It feels like it's gotten worse. Do you guys like have any like crazy people come into your courses, like for sure those dudes that flew the planes into like, because they flew down here in Florida, they got their licenses, those goofballs from 9/11, right? Like, yeah. For sure, whoever their instructor was should have been like, man, maybe I don't teach them. Like there had to be some red flags, right? Do you run into any crazy people that you've ever had to come in there, like super mad gun enthusiast? Or
no, I've been pretty good about it. I vet people pretty well too. I run small courses. There's max of 10 people in courses, 3 instructors for that. It's a pretty tight ratio for like instructor to students, and I usually talk to them in some fashion beforehand. I really vet people out before they come in.
So what's the biggest difference between your course and someone that just wants to get like a regular concealed carry permit?
Great question. So as you were saying with him, like where do you start? It's a process. It's not just a course. Yes, you could do 1 or 2 of them, but one builds on the other. So if people say, hey, I've shot before, I did X, Y, and Z, it's like, yeah, that's great. Start at number 1. Only because I do things a little bit particular. They might have seen a little bit of it. They might not have, but it's the way I put it together for myself. Yeah. And a lot of it doesn't have to do with the gun. What I'm doing is making people the weapon, and everything else is a tool. Situational awareness, hand to hand. All these things make you holistically more capable to shoot or not shoot, but just to survive no matter what the scenario is. So you got good 6 hours of training with me under your belt, not even seeing a gun.
From the your experience from like the military to working with any type of law enforcement, where do you feel that the actual hands-on training was better, Marines, or how you've seen the police departments kind of go after their?
Okay, so I'm going to preface this that I respect anybody that puts a uniform on and goes outside into the world. However, many of the officers, one, have their hands tied behind their back. Their budgets are more into buying a new Porsche or a Suburban to take to a car show and do community outreach than ammunition for guys that train, you know? And I will tell you some personal experiences around law enforcement, and it's for a purpose. Two, I won't name, departments. Anyways, there's a department here in South Florida that the officers have a range they can go train to shoot at. They're not allowed to train getting the gun out of the holster because it's too dangerous. The insurance won't cover it. You understand? So we're talking about cops, badges, that type of stuff. What does that mean? They have to come to guys like me or go to ranges on the weekend or get together with groups. And on top of being a cop and all your hours, now you got to take your personal time to go do that. Some departments are good at having more money. They do give them ammunition. They give them more training time. But that's hit or miss in the way of the departments in their training. So we do fundraisers, Samantha and I, through the business. We actually, gather that money and do training days just for law enforcement, so it doesn't have to come out of their pocket.
What kind of guns am I gonna get to shoot, bro?
Back to the.
I think the list is a little bit shorter. I mean, of what you're not going to shoot. No, we stick to semi-automatics. We don't take revolvers out, but semi-automatics in different sizes, calibers, like compact, subcompact, house gun, concealed carry gun, etc.
Basically teach me how to be able to survive in like my house, right? Like
absolutely.
If somebody comes in and I got to defend my wife who doesn't exist yet, right?
Absolutely.
That's what I want.
Yeah, after level 1, it's you're a decent home shooter. After a level 2, you're a really good concealed carry. That's where you're getting drawn from the holster and all that stuff.
So when someone comes to your course, are most of the people just like active civilians or just civilians that just want to be more active in like knowing how to be concealed carry, weapons permit?
No, not a lot of people don't even pick up a gun after that per se. I mean, they'll train, they'll do some stuff, but you get a lot more out of it. Situational awareness, some hand-to-hand stuff, courage. Some people just want to use their hands and have like, keys or something of that nature. It's usually a process to carrying the gun. They got to get real comfortable with it. Not everybody always does, but you'll be more capable in all scenarios.
Yeah, like what do you do when somebody comes into your house and you're not ready? Like that happens, right? Like every day.
Yes, it happens a lot, actually. It happens quite
When's the last time you heard about it? Like I feel like 2 days ago I was hearing about it.
Yesterday I was at the day before Thanksgiving, I was at a customer's house that his wife was a bit resistant. Like, I don't think we need this gun thing. And then somebody trying to kick her door, and she was like, "Hey, call Alex. We need that gun thing."
But like, see, if that would have been a smart marketing tactic. If it was my company, I'd be like, "All right, now she doesn't want it. Go kick in her door. Go tell her, hey, Jimmy's here. But Jimmy got the thing for you. Maybe you need to get a gun protection course." So
that's how you get shot.
Yeah,
but don't do it in Florida, guys.
No, that's someone that knows that he hasn't yet enrolled in this gun protection. What's your go-to gun if like someone asks you, like first time shooter?
The first time shooter, $200 in instruction.
That's a BB gun.
That's the first time. $150 worth of instruction, then pick up the gun. I don't train them much anymore, but I've had guys in the past like come with $15,000-$20,000 worth of rifles and pistols and would not listen or unwilling to pay for $300 in training. It's like buy a $1,000 gun and $9,000 worth of training. You'll be way better off.
It's like those dudes that buy the $400,000 Ferrari but really don't know how to drive a Ferrari.
Yeah, like the golf guy with all the gear and the bright shirt and the pants.
That's me. That's me. And just like magic, poof, we're down one. So that's funny. Yeah, Chris is a good cat, man. Where do you do your courses at?
We have different relationships with different range depending on the course. Some we use indoor ranges. Some we have friends with private land where we have ranges on, and it depends on the course.
You know what I don't think we ever got back to was I was asking you initially, and I think we went on a tangent. It was about like if someone's just starting, like everyone always says Glock, and I hate to put that out there, but what's your like go-to gun of choice for people if they're like?
What I do with people is I actually go to a range. There's not just one. I'll go to a range that rents a lot of guns, and I'll rent 3 with them. They have different features. There's different ergonomics. The way it fits in the hand. Glocks are quite thick. People with bigger hands have no problem with it. Other, people with more smaller hands, whatever it may be,
like
tend not to like them, like to go SIG. But I'll line up 3 within what they need it for. Purpose is first. Is it a concealed carry gun? Are you going to have it at home for a home defense gun? So I start with purpose. Whatever the purpose is, then we start recommending guns and features from there. Yeah. Let them shoot 3 and just keep one target for each gun and look at what they shoot with, almost blind, not a lot of training. Pick it up, shoot these 3. The one you're closest with there, when you train, you'll just be better with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like love at first sight.
Yeah, but first usage, right? But what I say is don't get stuck to names. And also there's 2 things you don't want to skimp on. That's your guns and like plastic surgery. Like if you're going for LASIK, pay for both eyes, definitely. You know what I mean? Yeah, same thing with a gun. Like, okay, don't go for the $200 one. You want to shoot, cans at some time and shoot water bottles, and it doesn't matter if it works, buy the $200 gun. If not, go for quality, try a couple different ones, rent a couple different ones, and then go from there. So that's a long answer for that.
And guns hold their value pretty well too, right?
Quality. Yeah, it's like anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the world goes crazy like it has recently, and there's supply and demand issues, and like all prices spiked here in the last 18 months like crazy.
So if a parent came to you and said, hey, what are some like just general tips for like in my house? What's something I can do if it's me, my wife, or my husband and I, and we've got 2 kids, 1 dog, and 2 cars in the garage? What's like good basic secure your home safety?
Sure, there's a lot of things. One, definitely talk about it. When I was a kid, people had fire drills, or they'd be like, this is where we gather up if there's a fire. This is how you get out of the house, et cetera, et cetera. Do the same thing with your security and sit around. And I have techniques I send people home with, homework to specifically do this with their family. But sit in a chair and look around and say, hey, if somebody came through that door, what would you do? You'll be surprised all the different answers you get from everybody in the family, Now they don't even just talk about it. 1, 2. So when something does happen, it's like ping pong balls. Everybody's bouncing around the walls thinking what they should do. But that doesn't mean that the other one thinks that, So communication is a first step. Just talk about it, and talk about it in different positions and in different rooms of the house. Hey, we're at the dining room table now. Well, if something happened, who does what? Who's on the phone? Who's defending us? You know what I mean? And just talk about, hey, getting out of there is extremely valid too. How the hell are we going to get out? Where are we going to meet up? Those types of things.
It's funny because my son just came home with a project. My son's 10. He just came home with his homework assignment was a hurricane relief preparedness plan. You got to meet with your family to go over like, if we have a hurricane, where do we go? What are we going to do? What supplies are we going to need? What's going to be our exit plan? But like things that are so casually overlooked, like home invasions. I mean, home invasions are probably just as likely to get your home invaded at some point as be caught in a hurricane.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's crazy if people think about that. What's the biggest?
Can I interrupt it?
Yeah,
real
of course.
quick? The thing with that is this is what it does for you too. If you look at, and I'll talk about this a lot when I talk about the courses in my programs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, very bottom of that triangle is food, shelter, water. Above that is security of body, your property, your resources, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at that, there's morals are actually above security, which is why somebody will smack an old lady in Publix if they feel scared, if they don't feel secure, for toilet paper. Right. How much fear was going around? Well, once you get into that fight or flight, logical reasoning goes out the door, you know what I mean? Until you train it, you get into intense scenarios, you learn how to operate in that. In the beginning, logic gone, and then you're just operating on survival. And morals is below that. So by having those conversations, you're increasing really the whole security feeling psychologically, energetically of the family. Wow, we actually talked about it at least. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're processing the emotions at the same time of like, damn, what if that did happen? So it's a good way to just build the confidence in a family in general.
But do you think that video games played any any significant role, or have you seen any data that they have in any of these?
No, I think humanity's humanity, and whatever, we are first 7 years of our life, that is probably the most impactful. We spend the first 7 years programming and the rest trying to deprogram, figure it out. So I would say the most important thing is obviously that foundation of home and societal environment, for sure, their environment at that time. And then, when I was a kid, it was like 2 Live Crew came out. I was like, oh, if you listen to that, what was 60s? Like, listen to a rock record backwards, you're going to go to hell. It's like people have a lot of excuses for why their kids are messed up. Hardly look in the mirror first. Yeah,
that's crazy. We just got super deep from that. we just went talking about like random video games. But no, I agree, man. I think that it's just we live in such a fucking crazy world, right? Because I don't ever think that there would be a point where I'd be concerned about like a very real maybe not probability, but possibility of like an active shooter in a grammar school. That's insane to think that's something like when I was a kid. How old are you?
I'm 44.
44. Okay, so we're about the same. I'm 41. So it's like, I didn't like, I grew up in that, like, that wasn't even a thought. Like, nobody was like, oh, something like you got to fight with your friend. And if somebody ever brought a knife to school, that was like the biggest deal. And you heard about it. City's over, right?
Right.
But it's crazy now that people are bringing guns to school and these kids are doing this crazy shit. At what age do you think like the schools should start making kids aware of these scenarios? You think right from the get-go, or you think there needs to be like a barometer of how old and how emotionally intelligent they are to deal with those things?
I think that needs to be put on the parents at home. I think the schools have enough to teach. So, and a lot do a great job. It's arguable now. If I had kids, I don't know how you do it. I'd probably have to homeschool mine. They're older, out of school and stuff like that. What I see going on in schools, probably have to homeschool. But I guess the answer to that is, for me, it was just a part of life. So not seeing guns in school, probably your upbringing, wherever you were raised at, something like that. I've been at two spectrums of it. I got some real city family. I got some real redneck family. So we go to farms in the summers. We'd stay there for a certain amount of time. And in those environments, everybody had guns. It was like, okay, guns are around. I've also been in not the best neighborhoods, inner city, and there were plenty of guns in school at that time too, and on the block and around the streets and stuff like that. So in two different ways, we always had guns around. But I mean, what I see people complaining about nowadays, some people get mad at, I get happy about it because it just shows how good the world actually is right now. Because if it was really that bad, no offense, there's a lot going on in the world. But if you look at 100 years ago, 150, 200 years ago, what people dealt with just to survive every day, the only reason we can bitch about somewhat nonsense is because things are too good. If you were really with your feet to the fire and worst case scenario, getting robbed with a knife to your throat, what'd you be thinking about?
Yeah, no,
now live your life that way. It's like, is it really that important? You know what I mean?
It's all perspective, man. It is. It's like where we end up feeling like our day. I always tell my buddy, I'm like, no matter how shitty of a day you're having, someone's trying to have that good of a day. Because like there's usually something that happens which is worse, man. It's fucking it's shitty. And where can someone check out sovereignselfdefense.com? Do you have a social media presence that's your go-to? Are you a Twitter guy, Instagram? What's your?
I don't do it much, but the business does, and it's Sovereign Self Defense. And also at the Warrior Workshop. So Sovereign Self-Defense is the business, and the Warrior Workshop is the name of the series of workshops.
Well, I appreciate you coming out, man. That was fun. I'm glad I learned a lot of interesting stuff, bro. I'm going to check out your site some more. I was surfing around it a little bit, man. I have to, my wife just got her, Vinny, you didn't get a concealed carry. You should take his course too. And get your concealed carry down here. Do you have to have because he just moved down here from New York. Do you need to have a Florida license first? Do you do a concealed carry?
No, they do out of state.
They do out of state?
They do out of state. You might have to look into that, though, if it's New York. That's
nobody trusts New York.
That's the worst one to have.
New York's always the worst state for everything. Crypto, like you live in New York, you can't have crypto.
Yeah.
You like guns? You live in New York, you can't have a gun.
If you live here, go ahead and get the ID, then do it. It'll go a lot smoother.